Okay, guys, I'm here today with Big Dan. Huge honor for me. And guys, today Big Dan is gonna explain here to us how he started Jiu-Jitsu. It's such a great story that kind of involves BJJ fanatics, so that's why like we are also sharing here to you guys. But Big Dan, can you explain? This was one of you made my day when you said it.
Man, so it's a really ridiculous story that I'm sure the world will know one day. I'm not gonna say all of it because there's some parts I'd rather not say to the public right now. Some not so good parts, but the main parts is I was 16 years old, right, and I'm 23 now, and it was actually I had nothing to do with my life. I was doing nothing productive with my life, right? Like, the thing was, I wasn't athletic. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't grow up doing sports. Everybody thinks like I like was like this wrestler, or like I was this kid who played sports. Like I didn't grow up with any money, right? Like I grew up with immigrant parents. Right? Like we had no opportunities growing up. So all I did, really, the truth is, I played video games like 12 or 13 hours a day. Went to school, and I had nothing going on with my life. And I found jiu-jitsu when I was like 15. I actually found jiu-jitsu in the weirdest way possible. I was taking a bus from Pennsylvania to New York, and the guy which was on I sat next to, he actually taught ninjutsu, like the ninjutsu, yeah. And at the school they also had jiu-jitsu. So I did that for a couple of months. I stopped, and I was like, okay, that's whatever. And then there was a girl on a school field trip, and she had karate at her school. She invited me to do karate at the school, and I'm like, okay, I did karate for like 6 months, and at one of the classes they had grappling, and I'm like, oh, I love this. I remember I used to do jiu-jitsu, right? And I asked the instructor, hey, can we do some grappling? He's like, oh, I'm not a grappling instructor. I'm like, oh, okay. So the next day I signed up at an MMA school, and I remember like it was yesterday. I had the craziest forearm pump. This is when I was like 16, and I'm like, I need this in my life. Like I need this, and I've been doing it ever since. I never looked back. That being said, though, right, I was at a crossroads in my life. I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do with my life, right? Like, I had 3 distinct paths which I was gonna go down. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go to college, go to school, get a degree, go work a job, whatever, right? Like that's cool. That was 1. 2, I was gonna go to the military, get the GI Bill, go to college, and make my life straight. Number 3, I was gonna say, fuck it, let me try and see if I could do jiu-jitsu for a career. But the issue is I had nobody to support me because my parents didn't really have any money. Yep. So I had to do it all on my own. And convincing my parents was probably the worst part because it's
I had similar stories to that.
Yeah, so
they're convincing the parents.
Like,
I know exactly how
you got it. Like, hey, I'm not gonna go to college. You know, I'm gonna go try and do jiu-jitsu professionally. And the only thing that somewhat convinced him was the fact that Gordon just started doing DVDs with you guys, and he was like, "I'm being dead serious. It has to do with fanatics. If it wasn't for fanatics, I wouldn't do jiu-jitsu professionally." Okay. Because I saw Gordon doing well. I remember telling my dad. I remember this conversation was yesterday. Like, if Gordon can make a living off of jiu-jitsu, I can do it too. Really, that's the truth. And so I was like 17 at the time, and I lived in Pennsylvania. I didn't live in New York. I grew up in New York, but I moved to Pennsylvania, in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, right, which is far from New York. So I want to do jiu-jitsu professionally, but there's no good schools around me. I'm training at a tiny Renzo Gracie affiliate in Pennsylvania, and how am I supposed to get good if I don't have the best teacher, right? So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna start training with Danaher, right? It's in New York City, right? But Pennsylvania is far from New York, man. Yep. So there was a bus. Funny enough, it was the same bus I met the ninjutsu instructor on. A bus, March Trailsways. I can't ever forget it. March Trailsways. A bus from Pennsylvania to New York City. It was cheap. It was a commuter bus, so it was like $7 a day.
Yeah, and there's a bus Boston to New York City as well. That's crazy cheap. It's like 10 or 20
See what I'm talking about, right? So they had a commuter bus. So I would do that. I would wake up at 3 a.m., leave my house at 3:30. This is when I was 17, by the way. Leave my house at 3:30 a.m., take the 4:15 a.m. bus, get to New York around 7:15, take Danaher's 7:45 a.m. class, take Danaher's 12:30 class, leave Renzo's, get on the bus at 3:30 p.m., get home around 7 or so, and then just do that nonstop, right? So that was how I was training in New York. And my stepmom, she would prepare me meals. So I had something, and I switched to online school through my high school. Yep. I still graduated high school, even though that was like a headache. I never even used my high school degree once. Good. But what's it called? I was doing all of my online school either on the bus or between classes. And
Man, this is
that's the
really
story.
amazing.
Yeah.
No, and it's so cool to see jiu-jitsu getting to that level because, for example, I always thought that a lot of people like Brazil in this sense had an advantage versus US because the economy in Brazil is much worse than US. The people in Brazil would decide to do jiu-jitsu as a way of making their life, making a living. That's what I did. I was like, man, this is gonna be my thing.
Yeah.
And the plan was always like, we're gonna move to US, we're gonna open a school, and you probably become like a middle class here. It's better than like a middle high class in Brazil. So I think the Brazilians was always like, this is my thing, you know, like. And here in US, where the economy is much better, there was no path to become professional in jiu-jitsu, to make a good income in jiu-jitsu. So I think a lot of people would not decide to do jiu-jitsu because of that. You know, like, and they would start getting jiu-jitsu and then they go to college and then... But now it's changing with all these tournaments, with the instructionals and this and that. So it's so cool to see like that you got triggered by this new idea.
Actually triggered by Gordon. Gordon is the reason I decided. It's literally you and Gordon. If it wasn't for Fanatics and for Gordon, I wouldn't be doing jiu-jitsu professionally.
No,
because Fanatics gave the opportunity for this. This is the story. Like, this is the truth. Fanatics gave the athletes the ability to make a living, and Gordon brought the sport to a new level. And if it wasn't for that,
and he shared it. Like he told everybody how much he.
Yeah, but it's like. And he was saying how he was making like $100 grand a month. Like, damn, I want to make $100 grand a month. You know, like that would be cool. I mean, I'm not, but like still. But on top of that, like to make money in jiu-jitsu now is a lot easier because look, we're not going to make money competing. Maybe we might make some money competing, but that's not where you make the money. You make your money off of teaching. I teach private lessons. I do fine for myself right now with my students. I teach private lessons, right? Like you have the ability to charge a pretty penny. You have the ability to have people which are willing to learn. You have clientele. Like it's not hard for you to get private lessons in jiu-jitsu now. And that's the way to make money now in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and I almost feel like I think every jiu-jitsu athlete who chooses to do that profession, they become like a small entrepreneur.
Yeah.
With a very diversified income because they can teach private lessons, they can teach seminars, they can get sponsorships, they can compete and make money competing, they can make instructional videos, they can open their gym, they can teach at some gym. There's so many different sources of income that
you just have to be smart. You just have to be smart enough to find it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things, right? Like if you're smart enough to find your students, if you're good enough at marketing, if you're good enough at selling yourself, at telling people why they should learn from you, you'll do all right. But a lot of people just think that this stuff is going to fall in their lap.
Yeah, that is.
It's not going to fall in your lap. You got to look for it.
And you got to chase it.
And the other thing is, you can't do this sport if you don't actually love it. Like I love every aspect of it. It's like if you just kind of do it because I don't know what else, like you're not going to do well. But if you actually love it, you know, that's something.
Yeah. No, but this is awesome, Bernardo. Thanks for sharing. And you made my day when you told me the story outside of the camera. I was like, you gotta put this in front of the camera.
Here I am, like 6 years later,
there
at the Fanatics place.
Filming hopefully sell a lot. So guys, make sure to buy this guy's instructional video. Like this is the reason. So I'm joking, but anyways, no, thanks so much, Bernardo. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks. Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
BJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.